Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Who says you can't be the topic of conversation for all the right reasons? The Hyundai Tucson Hybrid pairs bold presence with advanced technology and sleek style. It's everything you didn't know you needed in an SUV and then some. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more.
Imagine that this line represents time. Present 1985. Future. Past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein. Reality for everyone else.
Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy. I am not a Nickelback fan. Today, we're going to lead right into where we left off last weekend, which I don't remember where exactly we were. I don't even remember the entire conversation. I just have some very vague notes. Sorry, I had a whole week go by, and I don't really remember the conversation. But before we do that, let's go ahead and touch base with Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, bud?
Doing pretty good. I like Nickelback.
See, you got the wrong guy.
Hey,
It wasn't
look,
even me.
look, man, that shit slapped when I was in like middle school, bro. You know, it's got a nostalgic flavor to it now, you know. Now, are you going to catch me playing it with other people around? Fuck no. But, you know, once in a while in my car, I might slap on a little playlist from the, you know, early 2000s and Nickelback comes on. I'm in there singing it. I'm not going to lie to you, you know.
He's gonna be singing about a photograph.
Listen, it's not the hits that hit. Okay, it's the ones that nobody knows about. What I just said
yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
right? I'm the
Yeah.
fucking obscure guy.
Yeah.
I like the songs that nobody knows. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, whatever.
man. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I never really dug into Nickelback.
I didn't either. I'm just fucking with you, honestly. Creed. Now, Creed, on the other hand, Creed is my
No.
shit. Okay.
No. With legs wide open.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
Oh, man, I don't know, man. I can't do the Creed thing either. Anyways, let's move past the music. We've wasted a ton of time on music in the pre-show. So let's get caught up on some good stuff. UFO Days is right around the corner. I know last year we spent a lot of time on the run up on UFO Days, and we haven't really done it so much this year, but UFO Days is right around the corner. We have about a month left until we are in Elmwood. Jeff is not with us this year because he hates us. I don't care what he says. He can say whatever he wants. Truth is that he just doesn't like us. Whatever.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
See, there it is. But we will have our old co-host Kenzar there. Jake says he's still going to be there. We're going to have Skeeter there. We are going to be the headlining and opening presentation this year. We're going to be presenting the story of Elmwood to Elmwood again. I'll be the tour bus guy this year. We'll have the booth open again. I was supposed to have the T-shirt today. I was supposed to be wearing the UFO Days T-shirt. That didn't happen.
You better send me one of those.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get one, dude. I got a box getting ready that I'm gonna send out to you guys. Probably get it in about 6 to 8 months. We'll see, something like that. If you're lucky. I just answered a questionnaire for a newspaper. Sent that out last night.
People still read those?
Yeah. I got a couple newspaper and magazine articles framed up over there from last year's UFO Days. So I'm excited to get a couple more. Signed my first autograph last year on a newspaper. That was pretty cool. Maybe I'll get to sign another autograph this year. That'd be cool. Let's see. Not much else when it comes to UFO Days. I mean, it's UFO Days. It's exciting. You know, a lot of really cool things happened last year. We met a lot of fans that we didn't know we had. There's a lot more people that listened to the show than we thought actually listened to the show, which is cool. People just came up and were like, "Yo, we love the show." And it's like, cool, that's awesome. Or people came up and we were still setting up, and they came and they were like, "Yo, I came all the way out here because I heard you guys were going to be here," and shook our hands. And we had like one guy came up and he was messaging me on Facebook, and he was like, "Yeah, I just want to make sure you guys were still going to be here." He hit me up. He's like, "I'm going to be there in an hour. Just make sure you're still there." And I was like, "Yeah." He came up and hung out with us for a little while on Saturday last year.
I want to know what the percentage of those people are that were just full of shit.
Probably all of them, except for
some nice people up there, and yeah. I'm that kind of guy. I'll walk by and be like, "Yeah, bro, you guys are great." I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is,
But yeah, I mean, it's cool, man. We got some pretty cool stories last year. We missed out on the Saturday night party. I don't think we're going to miss out this year.
Yeah, it was fun. We got assaulted by cheese. It was a good time.
Oh, yeah, we did. That was cool. I'm actively working on the Elmwood book, so I'm going to be taking notes and everything this year, try to add some more chapters to that book. By next year, the book will be out. Let's see. That's pretty much it for Elmwood. Hopefully by next weekend, I'll have the T-shirt for everybody to see.
Sick, bro. By next weekend, I should have 2 more songs uploaded to my SoundCloud, so check it out.
Nice. All right. Well, you ready to jump into the conversation?
Yep.
I'm wearing my Tactus Squatch shirt today.
I have the same shirt.
Do you? You have the one with the little thing on the sleeve?
Yep. The grunt style one, yeah.
Is it? That's not grunt style.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. That's what I call all the shirts with the arm fucking.
You're stereotyping. That's what you are.
Whatever. Sue me.
All right. Well, I don't remember where we left off yesterday or week. But I do remember that there was something that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that was during the conversation about whether or not UFOs were simply AI from the future. There was a point that I wanted to make about a particular UFO that was really hot in the news a while back, the jellyfish UFO. Are you familiar with this particular UFO? I want to say it was
I don't
Afghanistan
know.
or Iraq or something.
You'd have to pull up like a thing so I could see it.
I got you. Here, it's right here.
No, I'm good right now, babe. Thanks. But I am familiar with jellyfish UFOs. This wouldn't be the first one because I remember hearing about this like 10 years ago. So, yeah.
So don't worry about the colored ones up here, but I'm more worried this guy right here.
Yep.
And this one here. So for those that are just listening on Spotify or Apple, the one that I'm talking about, it's a black and white FLIR video. It's in a military base in Iraq, and the FLIR video recorded this object cruising over the military base from the right side to the left side of the video. And I'll find the video as well. But I wanted to talk about this because I can't remember if we dove heavily or not into this, but I want to talk about AI in general, right? So right now, and I understand that in the future, we're going to get much better AI. But if you think about AI, and kind of an argument that I was making last time about AI is that if we're looking, or if we're being visited by, let's just like, I think I used the word drones last time, talking about AI from the future, using UFOs as a drone like piece of equipment to visit us and learn from us, some sort of knowledge gathering piece of equipment. We have to stay away from the based. We got to stay away from putting the human fingerprint on things, right? So it's not going to look like a camera. It's not going to look like a quadcopter. It's not going to look like a drone that we would assign to it. Okay. It would look something like AI would create. Now, if you look at what AI originally created, and the first thing that comes to mind is Will Smith eating spaghetti. Remember that video, Jeff?
Yep.
I mean, it was an absolutely horrendous video, and we could pull that up here in a minute. But it was an absolutely just, it's fucking nightmares, man. It was horrible, right? But this was how I made people eating spaghetti. Then, we started getting these horrible pictures of people with 7 fingers and just weirdly placed buttons on shirts, and just AI is not perfect at things, and it's getting better. Yeah. So let's say AI is also now, whatever it's sending back, it's just learning how to do this. Okay. What would these objects look like? Would it look like a perfect sphere? Would it look like a flying saucer? Would it look like, I don't know, giant cigar shaped UFO? Maybe not. It could look like a glop of shit like this. Could just look like crap. Like your proverbial Will Smith eating a bowl of spaghetti. Right? That's what I see here. I think this is one of the best examples of the possibility of a UFO being something sent, or the physical embodiment of AI. This looks like that. It's either that or bird shit on the lens. It's one of the two. Now, there's been a lot of dissection on this video, and one thing it seems to not be is bird shit on the lens. It doesn't seem to be a smudge of, like a dead bug or whatever. This does seem to be an actual artifact in the environment. Doesn't seem to be something that's stuck on the lens. So what is it? You talk.
You're not going to like this.
Go ahead. I'm going to try to find the video.
I don't think that any of these craft flying over military installations are anything other than craft that we are making. The reason I say that is because they would have shot that motherfucker down. And don't give me the
At Taco John's, we serve a higher standard of flavor.
Fucking ads,
Grilled
really?
chicken, creamy fiesta sauce, and always hot potato Olays.
I'll wait for the
can't get
damn.
We call
I
West
can't get it
Wings.
to stop.
Jesus Christ. The reason is they would have shot it down. And you can't tell me like, oh, well, they can't track it or lock on to it or whatever the case might be. Because they do track these things, man. Look at it. It's being tracked right now. Okay. It's being tracked right now. And the videos that we got a few years ago from what was it, from the Nimitz? Was it from the Nimitz?
Depends on which one you're talking about. You're talking about the Go Fast and Gimbal, or are you talking about
Yes.
or the Tic Tac?
The Go Fast and the Gimbal.
That one's from the Roosevelt.
Which one was from the Nimitz?
That one's the Tic Tac.
Those were the pilots that saw it, though, right?
I mean, both of them were pilots.
That's a side tangent I could go on, because the Nimitz is brought back up in the conspiracy world with all the Iran stuff, but that's another thing. But anyways, the point is with the Go Fast and the Gimbal, they were tracking it, right? I remember in the videos, those things were like being tracked, okay? And they look like TR-3Bs to me, or some variations of the TR-3Bs. And the Tic Tac one, it was being tracked too. This is how they know, like, that it was able to perform certain maneuvers and go from whatever 20,000 feet to 20 feet in a second, right? Like, well, the only reason that they could tell those fucking altitudes is because it had to have been tracked on some level by our technology. We would not let this fly, right? We would have shot these things down. So that tells me that somebody gave the green light to do a test flight at this military installation, and they sent it up to whoever to say, hey, look, don't let the boys shoot this down. It's ours. Now, they probably didn't tell everybody that, of course, right? But somebody there knew that this was going down, and that's why it didn't get shot down.
So,
look, there's people just walking right there, bro.
Yeah, but I don't think this was U.S.
Anywhere. If
I'm correct, I don't think this was over a U.S. facility.
Any facility, bro. In fact, the fact that it's not U.S., even more so they would have shot it down, because at least in the US they might have hesitated and been like, well, wait, calm down, because there's all kinds of legal implications and so on and so forth if we just shoot something down over our own fucking airbase and it causes a problem.
It says US military base, and this is from ET, but from what I understand is that I don't know if this was a U.S. military base. From what I heard,
if it wasn't, like I said, I would expect it to be shot down even faster, because, like, if you're flying some object over some Russian military base or some, wherever, they're not going to fuck around.
I do agree, right? If it was in broad daylight, you're right, easily tracked just like that, you would think, yeah, they probably would shoot that bitch down. 100% agree. Very sketchy. There is a lot of red flags in this, and I just brought that up as an example of something that could be potentially something AI created.
Sure, and I agree with that part of what you're saying. I mean, for me personally, whether you're talking about AI UFOs or extraterrestrial UFOs or whatever they are, like some advanced shit that's beyond us, I could see it being more likely like an organic shape of some kind, right? Like a jellyfish, or even maybe like a plasma or something, right? Like, I don't see why super intelligence or aliens would make like a metallic saucer shape, right? Or something that we could kind of like understand on some level, if that makes sense, right? Like, it would probably be, have you ever seen Oats Studios on Netflix? Did you watch that very first episode where it was like the reptilians?
Yeah.
And you notice, like, the reptilians, they were covered in the black goo, and it was like constantly moving, like the ships that they came in were like organic in some way. Like, that is a representation of something I could see as like an advanced, craft, not a rigid craft, but more of a fluid craft.
You'd have to think that physics would just have to work differently, and then the way that elements work, in the way that they build, the way that they react together, the way that alchemy would have to work differently on other planets, right?
I mean, work differently is like, we could get into this, right? This is going to be another one of my like weird semantic arguments. I'll just say it right out. Physics is fake. Okay. You know what I'm saying when I say that. Okay. There's just things that we misunderstand, and there's things that have been put into boxes and especially for the general public, like we understand a certain set of physics because that's what we're told. And I have a problem with it. I think that there's other shit, right? When you talk about even things like when you hear these crazy stories like, oh, how did the Egyptians build the pyramids? Oh, they used sound frequency technology, or, you know, they whatever, like they melted the stone using some unknown technology. Like, I think that those things are possible. We're just not allowed to really know about it. And they fucked with the understanding of how the universe works a long time ago so that we can't really get to that understanding.
I think that there's a lot on the bases of physics that we have wrong. The base that we build off of is incorrect, and I don't think that's necessarily what physicists today are guilty of. Right? They're building off of false bases, and it's not necessarily their fault. And this is where we had that conversation about the auditing of having that branch of science that audits other sciences, right? And goes back and basically confirms that the most elementary principles of those sciences are actually correct.
Correct. Right? Yeah. And this is what I say when I say gravity's fake. I'll just use that as a quick example, right? Like, of course.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
The Abercrombie Kids Summer Sale is in full swing, with up to 50% off select styles for the season. Summer plans, vacation, and camp days are all covered, with new dresses, shorts, tees, and swim. Abercrombie Kids has the summer staples they need and the looks that they want to wear. Shop in-store, online, or in the app. Offer applies to select styles as indicated. Discount applied at checkout online.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why the new MyBiz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with MyBiz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers end June 30th, 2025.
There's a thing that's happening. There is a force or whatever that you could call it gravity if you want, but the understanding and the fact that we've labeled it that way, and like you said, like modern day physicists, you know, most of their calculations are being done using this faulty foundation of what we think gravity is, right? So that's like a good example.
Yeah, I think there's more to gravity. The thing about gravity, man, is that something exists that pulls mass towards other mass, right? That exists. Whether it's gravity by textbook, because you got to remember there's no necessarily there's no textbook definition of what gravity is.
Right, it's still theoretical.
Yeah, but you also have to be careful with that too. Okay, it's still technically a hypothesis. It's not even a theory. A theory is a law that cannot be tested. Correct. So, a hypothesis is an idea. Gravity is still just somebody's idea. It's the same concept as dark matter. Right? Dark matter is something, it fits into the equation, right? There's an equation of how everything works, and dark matter fits. All it is it's a piece of the equation that makes the equation make sense.
And that's the problem, right? Is that it's essentially a placeholder piece of the equation, right? Nobody's ever created, seen, replicated, tested dark matter, right? Because it's when they were doing the math problem, okay? Everybody knows what I'm talking about, the giant fucking math problem on a chalkboard, okay? Somewhere in there, they couldn't figure it out. They were like, something is wrong. And then they kind of like reverse engineered it in a way, if you will, And they were like, well, we can make it work if we add this little placeholder here. Now the whole equation works, and we'll call this placeholder dark matter. I think something similar, maybe not exactly the same, but something similar has happened with gravity, with a lot of the things in physics, like you were saying. Like, I think that the foundations that they're working off of are just altered.
Correct. And
so when you say, I don't know, like the physics would have to be different on another planet if they're going to make some weird, organic craft, blah, blah, blah. Is that the case? Or do we just not have a proper understanding of how the universe works? That's a big problem too, because I think that in today's day and age, with the internet and the technology that we have, we like to think that we know everything, or at least we're on track to know everything, like we're getting there, right? Like that's what we all think. We're at the pinnacle of discovery and civilization. And I don't necessarily buy into that. I think that we live in a very fucking synthetic version, a manufactured version of that.
I didn't think I was going to have this problem today, man.
What problem you having?
Problem of Jeff and I had quite the experience today.
Yes, we did. And without getting into it at all,
we can't get into it.
We can't, of course, but like some of that was happening today, right? With some of the information. And it was kind of like, okay, maybe there is a little something's been tweaked here, or the information's not quite what we think it is.
And that's exactly where I want to go right now. And I can't do that. I can't do it.
I'm with you. I want to too.
I want to so bad, but we can't. Fuck. Okay. We have to shift gears because we can't do that. The more has entered the chat, the more always brings up some good stuff. Mass attracting mass was dismissed by Einstein. There are 0 experiments showing mass attracts mass. Well, okay, maybe Einstein was famous for working off of mathematics and proving through mathematics. Einstein never had a big enough of a vacuum to be able to actually run the experiment. That's why his relativity is general and special relativities are theories. They can't be tested, so they never made it to laws. So the theory of general relativity and theory of special relativity, they can only be verified mathematically. It can never be verified physically. Right? With everything from the way light reacts around black holes and how gravity affects light, it all works and doesn't work mathematically. And Jeff and I even had, what was the term that we were talking about today? Einstein's biggest failure in his own mind was that he was unable to ever come up with a unified field theory, right? Or the unified field.
Yeah, that's it. Unified
was
field
it?
theory. Yep.
Basically, the explanation for everything. His big goal in life was to come up with an equation or somehow some way to explain the physics of literally everything in life, and he never reached it, and he saw that as his
biggest failure.
Yeah,
and this is why it took somebody like Stephen Hawking, who I also think is a shill. It took somebody like Stephen Hawking to come up with some other theories using faulty foundational physics to plug the gaps to come up with other theory. You know what I mean? So it's like we're just living in this long, like strung out thing in the sciences, right? Where they're just doing that. They're like, we don't know the answer, but the public expects an answer. The governments expect an answer. So what we can do is we can just plug these holes with equations that we can make work. But that's what they're doing.
So one of Newton's laws is mass attracting mass. Right. Again, yes, but have we ever been out to space and actually tested this? I honestly don't know. I don't know if we ever actually went out there and tested whether or not we've
never been to space, Jeremy. We've gone through this.
Okay. True. But regardless, we've never been to a point in space where there is no gravitational pull by some scientific definition, by some scientific organization, by their definition, no gravitational influence, and far past the Oort cloud of this solar system, in between galaxies where there's absolutely no gravitational influence, and took two bodies and tested gravitational influences between two bodies of different masses.
It'd be impossible
We never
to
did.
do. I mean, like, honestly, you'd have to go outside of the solar system, out of the reach of the sun, if that's even a real fucking thing. I'm not convinced, but if it is, you'd have to go way beyond like the Kuiper belt in order to completely escape gravitational forces to do these experiments, and we can't do that, even if space is real.
That's why we rely on theories, right? Because we have to rely on the mathematics of it to prove it. And that's where Einstein came in. He was really good at creating these theories. Okay. He came up with all of these mathematical equations that proved all of this stuff. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that all of his equations prove things. Okay, there was a point in my life where, yeah, I believed it. Jeff helped me out of that hole in multiple different scenarios and multiple different cases. Thanks, man. Not going to go over each and every one of those, but I do look at these differently now. I still look at them as we have to start somewhere, right? If we can't just start nowhere. Okay, we can't just build off of nothing. So we have to start somewhere if we're going to build anything. We have to do something. So where are we going to start from if we're going to progress with anything? What can we agree on?
Well, I don't know, right? I don't know the answers either. I don't claim to know the answers. I just, I'm very firm on questioning everything, and that literally means everything. But Jake's voice is popping into my head here, and what you're saying is true if you're living in a secular worldview, right? If you're living in a non-secular worldview, you would attribute all of these things to your God, right? So, and I understand both sides of this enough to be like, okay, I'm in the middle, right? I'm a fence sitter. Everybody hates that, but I'm kind of a fence sitter on that. But I want to tie this back to AI for a second, right? So like, this is the problem that we have with AI as well. All of the information that you're getting from AI and will get from AI is being pulled from the internet, and the internet is full of faulty information. So moving forward in time, 100 years or 1,000 years, when AI is super intelligent and all this, it's still going to be based on a flawed foundation because that information is not anywhere for it to be trained on, right? Maybe somebody somewhere has the real information and they're training an AI with that. That's a different story, but we don't know, right? But right now you can go ask Grok a question and, it's just pulling information off the internet, which is a bunch of fucking nerds who put shit on the internet. So, how fantastic is it really? To me, it's just really quick at finding things and compiling it into a digestible format for human beings. It's not really doing the thing that I think people think it's doing, right? It's not intelligent. It's just super fast.
Yeah, we're getting off track here.
So I was trying to pull it back into AI a little bit,
Yeah. Let's I have on my notes here from last weekend that we were going to be talking about aliens being the hidden class. Do you remember where we're going with that?
No, I don't think we got into that.
What were we talking about?
Well, we had half of last week's episode was literally about time traveling AI. Right. And we went through all that. And then we went into, are we AI? And we didn't really get too deep into that because I think we got sidetracked in the conversation, to be honest with you.
I need to take better notes.
I don't take any fucking notes, bro. You're good, man. You're doing more than me.
I know. And then I wrote down the Fermi Paradox. What were we talking about with the Fermi Paradox?
We didn't even talk about that. You might have wrote that. Maybe the thought popped into your head and you wrote it down, but we didn't talk about it.
But what did I want to talk about with it?
Wait, is that the 3-body problem?
No.
No, that's not right. What is the Fermi Paradox? If there's life out there, why haven't you seen it type of thing?
Yeah.
Like mathematics. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that.
The Fermi Paradox, I mean, there's a lot of cool things. I mean, there's a lot of answers to the Fermi Paradox, right? That's what we're going to talk about. Jeremy Corbell brought up techno-terrestrials and how we could be seeded here by AI, right?
Yeah, and then we went on a long tangent. I was talking about AI in the future pulling time towards itself to create itself, using us as the tool to do that.
Correct.
Right.
And how we are nothing but AI's tools to just be information gatherers.
The sex organs of the machine world.
Yeah. And how, okay, so with the theory, the zoo theory, we could be just basically, or not necessarily the zoo theory, but the farm theory. We could just be cattle, right? We were put on this earth or on this planet to kind of just gather information about, everything and anything, mostly natural resources and how to utilize them, come up with our own understanding of physics, various math and scientific fields, not necessarily so much on history, but maybe reading, writing, communications, that kind of stuff. They gather up all of our information once we create AI or they plant technologies, because there is a theory that UFO crashes were planted by whatever it is that pilots them, right? If you look at where UFOs have crashed and where they have been supposedly recovered from, like Roswell, right? It seems that, and I want to say it was actually off the Sean Ryan show that I heard this, that supposedly it seems that every major nation that's kind of been in the game when it comes to reverse engineering of UFOs and gravitational manipulation and even into nuclear sciences has recovered some sort of UFO. And it seems that they may have been planted, purposefully crashed in certain areas of the world to be recovered by certain nations as kind of like a, hey, here's some free technology as a boost. Do what you will with it. Let's see what you got, kind of thing.
Maybe. I don't really have an argument against that at all, I guess.
So, strange question, right? What if one day we do end up making contact with another planet? Because as of right now, the reality of it is, well, we'll talk about reality from a point of view of what majority of Earth believes from a scientific point of view is that there's a ton of planets out there with, when you look at the Drake equation, right? The Drake equation is the way of calculating how many intelligent species there are here in the Milky Way, right? That alone is telling you that science, believers in the Drake equation believe that there are other intelligent species in the Milky Way alone, not in other galaxies, just in the Milky Way. So let's say that those other intelligent species were also planted. They're so far away, even if they were in Alpha Centauri, right? They're still so far away that within the lifetime of our species here on this planet, before our star goes supernova, we still probably don't have enough time here to be able to make contact with them to communicate.
Right.
So if an AI or some superior race were to have planted us here to be information gatherers for them, as a farm animal of sorts, or some sort of miner, like a crypto miner, right? That's another thing that you could look at us as as biological crypto miners. They never really have to worry about us talking to other farm animals or other crypto miners, right? They don't have to worry about that. That's not a thing. There's an answer to the Fermi Paradox right there. What if there are other intelligent species out there? One of the reasons why is because they have placed us so far away so that we purposely can never make contact with each other.
I mean, and when we talk about this stuff, it really just makes me think about the space is fake thing a lot, man, because I got to be honest, man, according to the experts, right? We've laid our eyes on hundreds and billions of stars and planets out there, and we've not detected any form of light or life, rather. We've been shooting fucking radio signals out for like 100 years, man, and like nothing really has communicated back. We have light information technology, right? Lasers, which travel much faster than radio waves. We're shooting those out, trying to get a signal, right? And nobody's responding. And to me, it's like further proof that all of the shit that we're told about space and how big it is and how vast it is and how much shit there is out there is just a lie. Because, like you said, if it is the way that they say, there would be, I don't know the number, we could probably ask Grok, what the Drake equation says, how many intelligent life civilizations should there be in the Milky Way, and it's a big number, right? I remember seeing this somewhere. It's a big number. It's more than a few. Then you calculate all the galaxies and such, and it's just like, man, it's got to be either we're the only thing out there, which is just absurd, right? Unless you are taking like a religious viewpoint on this and you think we're special, which I'm fine with that argument. But if not, to me, it's just like a way to promote scarcity. It's a way to promote the idea that we are stuck here and we have to fight over these resources because this is all we got. I
want to say the Drake equation has to do with hypothetical inputs.
That's the other problem too, right? Like, just kind of like what we were talking about earlier with physics. It's like, all this stuff is tainted by human beings, right? The inputs for the Drake equation, some schmuck came up with this and put in the parameter.
Test, check 1, 2. You need unique New York. You need unique New York. Does that sound all right? Ah, that's better. You can always tell something's missing when you get isolated results. Like AI that's only right for one of your systems. Get AI that can work across your data and applications. Learn more at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
And stuff that you need to, calculate. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, to be honest.
I'm going to give you guys all a little sneak peek at a blog I was writing.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And unless you get into, like I said, like religious stuff, we were created here purposely by the architect or by God. Okay. Can't really argue against that. If that's the case, that's the case. Or ancient astronaut theory, that there is actually shit going on. They came here, they DNA manipulated, hominids that were here and created us out of something else and then left. And then perhaps if space is real, all the space agencies know that there's stuff out there and they just won't tell us, right? And this is when we were talking about breakaway civilizations last week. I personally think that if space is real, that we probably are out there and this is just a farm, like you said, but it's not quite the way you explained it. It's more so like, well, you never seen Star Wars, but this would be like Tatooine, right? Or to put it in some, the whole earth is North Korea, right? Like people who live in North Korea, not all of them, but a lot of people who live in North Korea, they really think North Korea is the shit. They really think that that's the pinnacle of human civilization over there, some of those people. And I think that that's kind of the position we're in here. And we just have no idea that there's human beings out there doing stuff. You know what I mean? And they're farming us for whether it's information or most likely DNA for cloning, because if you have a massive space fleet out there exploring the galaxy, you need a lot of bodies for that. And the best way to do that is to collect DNA from a farm and clone humans and send them out.
So this was a blog I was writing. I got a ton of them. So you guys are getting a free look at one. Yep. This one is on Are UFOs Extraterrestrial? This is just page 3 of 8. So you guys are just getting a little glimpse. But this is particularly on the Drake equation. I'll read it off for you guys here. I'll skip the section on star systems, galaxies, and universes. But I'll read off the Drake equation just to kind of answer the question on what that is for anybody that's curious. So, of course, life exists on other planets. I am personally not arguing that. In fact, I think most of the scientific and non-scientific communities on this planet will agree that it is more likely that there is another form of life somewhere out there in the vastness of space. In 1961, the American astrophysicist and astrobiologist Frank Drake formulated the famous Drake equation, which, when filling in the variables with data points, will give you a proposed number of communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. This equation reads N equals R times F. I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to give you the values, right? F with the equation broken down like this. Okay, so N equals the number of civilizations with which humans could communicate. This variable stands as the outcome to the equation. So this is your answer. R multiplied. This is your mean rate of star formation. F to the lower P equals fraction of stars that have planets. And to the lower E, this is the mean number of planets that could support life per star with planets. F to the lower L, fraction of life supporting planets that develop life. F to the lower I, fraction of planets with life where life develops intelligence. F to the lower C, fraction of intelligent civilizations that develop communication. And finally, L, which stands for the mean length of time that civilization can communicate. But we're not done here. To dive too far into the Drake equation, I'm not just simply explaining that there is a well-known and, of course, debated equation in the scientific community for the estimation of intelligence or intelligent and communicative extraterrestrial life in the Milky Way galaxy. While we're here, let's take a moment to discuss a few commonly misused terms. Okay, yeah, we'll stop there.
I asked Grok for the answer.
Oh, yeah? What do you say?
Estimates range from 1 to millions due to uncertain parameters. Current consensus leans toward a low number, possibly 10 to 100, but it's highly speculative. That's how many civilizations are in the Milky Way. Intelligent civilizations in the Milky Way. Between 1 to millions, consensus being 10 to 100. Right? Again, look, we got telescopes that are apparently peering out way beyond the Milky Way, right? Like we've seen other galaxies and shit. So how is it that that's possible and we haven't seen or heard from any other civilizations in our own galaxy? It's just not possible.
Correct.
So that just leads me to think that there either is none, or what they tell us about the infinite fucking space and the hundreds of trillions of stars, like that's just bullshit. One of the two. Can't be both. Or it could be both, I guess, but
well, I think it's important to at least ask the question how they get that answer. Right? I would love to be able to hear somebody out. That's at least give them the soapbox and say, okay, how'd you get this? Show me how you got it. Right? Convince me that this is real. And if they can show me like, hey, all right, you gave me enough to where it's like, okay, maybe this is legit, because I'm the same, right? On the outside looking in from the surface, this looks like horseshit, right? But who knows? There could be technology out there. There's got to be there. I'm not going to say that there's got to be, but there could be a variable that we're not seeing. That's all I've got to say, right?
for sure. I don't argue with that at all. I mean, you know, I would just say when we talk about things like AI and like, you know, is the future AI like sending back stuff through time, or like is that the UFOs that we're seeing? Are they using these drones, if you will, to collect information, whatever? I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I have certain beliefs, if you will. I don't even know if that's the right word, but like holographic universe is a good example, just because it's fresh in my mind because I looked some stuff up earlier. You know, are you familiar like with the holographic principle, holographic universe?
Not completely. I have a book on it right over here that I haven't read yet, but yeah.
Sure. I'll give you the quick synopsis of it, right? Basically, all information is, how do I phrase this? The universe is more than likely a two-dimensional plane. Think of a sheet of paper, right? Or a hologram. It's a two-dimensional surface that has all the information needed to project a three-dimensional hologram. Okay. And you could take any little piece of that hologram out and you can inspect it, and it has all the information for the entire hologram. So when you start talking about like quantum physics and stuff like that, right? When you get into like particle physics and like they're discovering the secrets of the vastness of the universe by, you know, doing experiments on particles, and you're like, how the fuck does that work? Well, because the part encodes the whole, right? So to me, if AI in the future gets to a point that it could do these crazy things, it's more than likely that it would create a simulation. It would create a holographic universe, and everything within that is actually a product of the AI. You, me, all the particles, all the light, everything. And what we might be seeing, if the UFOs, well, not if, because if that's the case, then everything is part of the AI simulation, including the UFOs, right? Now, why is that anomaly happening? I don't know, but that would be like my broad view of that, right? Yes, AI is everything, literally, in the holographic universe. It's just a simulation. And if AI gets that advanced in the future, you know, if we do become like a type 2 civilization and we're harnessing all of the power of the star, right, of our sun to power our civilization, right, and we're using that amount of energy to create AI, and it's creating simulations with that amount of power, shit, bro, we might be living in one of these holographic simulations, you know? And there could be infinite numbers of them running it all at the same time. And then you get into parallel realities, alternate dimensions, all of that could kind of fit into this if you really kind of wrap your mind around the holographic principle.
I think every day that goes by, I think that there's a better chance that we live in a simulation.
Dude, the smartest people in the room have been saying this for like 20 years now. right? I've seen so many TED Talks and stuff like that where these guys come out and they say, like, the chances that we live in base reality are slim to none. It's more than likely that we live in some form of a simulated universe, right? And these are the smartest people in the world that are saying this shit right now. And it just leads me to think, like, yeah, you're starting to figure it out, guys. You're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, it's crazy how small we are. And you start thinking about how big things really are, and then you start thinking about stuff on the quantum level and how physics change as you go down. I wonder how physics changes as you go up, right? Because it's got to change when you go up too. Like, we've had this discussion before as well. What is the universe expanding into, right? We've had this talk about the Big Bang, and we've had various conversations, and we've looked at it from various angles before, and talked about various ideas about whether or not that the Big Bang even happened, or it's even true conceptually, and whether or not the universe is actually expanding. We've talked about the Doppler effect and redshift, blue shift, and everything. And we've talked about the expanding universe and the contracting universe, and we've dissected this pretty good, right? But one thing we've kind of fallen short on, but we've asked the question, is if the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? And is it going to get to a point where it can't expand anymore? Like, is it expanding in some sort of container? Is it expanding against something else that also is expanding? Is it a bubble? Will it pop?
Unfortunately, it's impossible. If you take the experts at their word, it's impossible for us to ever know that answer, because the rate of expansion exceeds the speed of light, which I don't understand how that fucking works. But anyways, I'll digress from that. But I think that that's a clever way for them to not have to answer the hard questions.
I don't think that's their answer. I think that the expansion is at the speed of light, but because we can't see the expansion horizon, we will never be able to see it. We'll never be able to catch up to it because we can't ever break the speed of light.
Some version of that, right? I don't know exact. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we'll never know. Even if we build a machine that can travel the speed of light, we'll never get there in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I think that that's a clever way for them to kind of mask the flaws in their math, where they can just say, oh, we can't see any further than 13.7 billion light years, man. Unfortunately, that's it. That's the boundary. And it's just like, that's convenient, bro.
To the forbidden topic.
That's going to be a good one, man, because all of this stuff ties in, bro. And like, know. Yeah. People are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? We got something coming for you. Don't worry, all right? Just hold on to your fucking britches. We're coming in hot soon.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment, at least, right? I mean, and this is why this is kind of one of the big things that leads me to the space is fake thing, right? Going back to that. It's just like, man, there's just so many unanswered questions, and there's so many questions that we just won't ever answer. And it's just like a real nice box that they put us into, just a real nice little cute little box. What else you got on your notes, bud?
That's it. Aliens, hidden class, Fermi Paradox, and jellyfish UFO. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just never really thought about whether or not physics changes once you get to the bigger side of things. I wonder, I mean, like, right now, we theorize that physics really does change at the quantum level, right? Because of superposition and the observation effect and a multitude of other things. But I wonder if it also changes on the other side of that spectrum?
I would say it probably does. I mean, the further you go down into the quantum, things get more complicated, it seems, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the opposite. This is like one of the universal laws, right? The duality of things, right? If you're going down to quantum and it's getting more complicated in that, when you go up, it must be getting simpler.
You think so?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Or I wonder if it just gets more complicated from our point of view. Maybe it is more simpler from, just a general sense of things, but from our point of view, like in our, I don't know if you look at like the size of things as like a spectrum, our point on the spectrum, our point of view, we're used to this. That's why it's our physics, our understanding of how the world works. We understand it a little bit better, but if we lived as quantum beings, something small, that would make sense to us. Whole world.
Well, that's a good thought experiment too. If you were a quantum being, right, and you were used to that, those physics, whatever, okay, you're used to that. As you went up to our level where we're at now, it's much simpler than when we look down into the quantum.
Right, but you would be used to the quantum world, right? You would understand that, you'd live it every day. When let's say you moved into a macro body, right, or a micro body, from the quantum to the micro, it may be very foreign, and it may be, of course, weird, strange.
Of course, it definitely would. I mean, like everything from my perspective, everything in the universe follows like certain patterns, right? Whether you're talking about quantum, micro, macro, right? And I'll use like stock market as a quick example for this, right? If you're anybody who's listening to this, I'm sure somebody's like a day trader, for instance. When you're looking at like a chart, like a day trading chart for a stock, okay, you're kind of, let's just say you're in like the micro environment, okay? You are honing in on something smaller, and it's more complicated. There's a lot more things that you have to constantly be aware of in order to do these day trades and be on time and like blah, 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 blah. As you start to look out at the macroeconomics of things, at least for me, it seems it's more complicated in the sense that there's more inputs for the macro economy than for like a micro economy. However, when you look at it from a macro view, it's much easier to understand what's happening on that small day trading chart, right? If I'm staring at the small day trading chart, like I said, it's moving. There's a lot of variables. Any little thing, blah, 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 it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. When you zoom out and look at the macro of everything, the world markets, right? You just have to look at a few things, the world's liquidity, the money supply, is there a fucking war happening? What is the policy that the United States it's almost simplified as you go up to the macro. So I think that once we get up to a certain point in the macro, if we could step outside of the universe and look at it, right, as a full macro thing, I think it's something probably as simple as a holographic universe where every part encodes the information for the whole, right? And as you go deeper and deeper into it, things get more complicated because you're not able to see the whole picture. Does that make sense? If you're looking at a hologram on a table, you're looking at the hologram. That's pretty cool, right? If you were in the hologram, you would be like overwhelmed with the amount of information that's inside each part, right? Because again, the part encodes the whole. So
this episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can finish the bachelor's degree you started in 19 months and under $19,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Like if you're in the part, you're going to be like, oh, it's a little much fucking information. But if you take a step back and look at it, it's just simplified. So I wonder if, it's something like that as you get higher. And this, and I could go a little woo on you here, a little hippie on you here. This is probably what people are talking about, or what the ancients talked about when you talk about things like lowering and raising your vibration, right? Lowering your energy, right? Or raising your energy. Or you could even put it in a religious context. If you're on a low vibrational field and you end up going to hell, okay, probably pretty chaotic. It's hectic. There's a lot of shit going on, a lot of moving parts down there. It probably sucks. But if you end up going to Valhalla, it's pretty fucking simple, man. You're chilling at the table and you're feasting with the gods. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's, you can kind of put this into a lot of different things. I'm getting a little esoteric and a little like philosophical with this, but like somebody out there is like, yeah, that makes sense.
Somebody.
It makes sense to me. So I know somebody else is probably tracking with me right now. The Moore's probably tracking.
Yeah. Yeah, the Moore's got you.
The Moore's tracking.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like, maybe I should just stick with Bigfoot.
The Moore says always. He's always tracking. And I'm looking at the comments for the first time since my little rant here, and he's saying exactly what I'm saying. The pattern in the macro is clear. Stocks go up with the increase in money supply. Like I said, just like the price of a candy bar, prices go up. Micro, any company can go out of biz and anyone can put a company out of biz. It's more complicated, right? So, and you can apply this. This is just the law of nature, right? This is just the way it is for everything. You ever seen this where they have this, I forget what it's called, but it's like a little table with like pegs all in it. And in the bottom, there's like a bell curve and there's all these little beads. And when they flip it over, all the beads fall randomly. They just randomly fall through the pegs, but they always fall into the bell curve and they create a predictable pattern, right? Out of order, out of chaos. And right. And when you get into like esoteric shit and like, secret societies, like that's one of the big, like foundational things that all of them hold on to: order out of chaos. You know what I mean? So that's like another representation of what I'm talking.
Fancy. Have you heard any cool or strange answers to the Fermi Paradox?
No. Maybe.
I think I brought it up last week, but there's a fiction trilogy by a Chinese writer called, his name's Sixin Yu. The trilogy's most famous book is the first book. It's called The Three-Body Problem. The trilogy itself is called The Remembrance of Earth's Past. It's since been made into a Netflix series. And then there's a movie in China that's been made. The Netflix series is really rushed. It's not as good as the trilogy of books. There was a fourth book made by a separate author that tried to tie it all together, and it's really not that good. But ended up tying everything together, and it was okay. How he did it, I really wish I didn't read it, to be honest with you. But the second book in the series is called The Dark Forest. And The Dark Forest, Fixing You, author, titled the book after his own theory to the answer in the storyline for the Fermi Paradox, which is the dark forest answer. And the way that he answers the Fermi Paradox is that the universe is like a dark forest full of hunters. Okay. Every species is in the dark forest, all represented by a hunter. Each hunter is out in the dark forest fighting for their survival. The best way to survive is to stay hidden from the other hunters. The worst way to survive is to make yourself known, to make your presence known. Because every other hunter in the dark forest will eliminate another hunter to ensure their own survival. Because no other hunter can trust another hunter.
Yeah, I've heard this before. I think you might have actually brought this up before. Maybe, man, but that's just another that's just like another representation of scarcity. Right? I don't really buy into that, to be honest with you. Don't really buy into that too much. What I would say is it's probably more so like, what does Andy from the Deep Share call it? Like the enemy of progress or something like that. I think that progress is most likely the reason that we don't come in contact with anything, right? Like the idea that civilizations just advance to the point that they destroy themselves, right? Or something like that. Kind of tying in what we talked about with Lance, right? He was talking about like what term did he use? Not the medicine men. Damn it. He was talking about how like the natives, they were way more in tune with like natural law and these types of things, right? And because of that, they were the abilities that they had were just, I'm not even going to say better than what we have, it's just different, right? And I think that because of progress, we've eradicated all of that, and now we're at right now. And if you track that out into the future, because of progress, you know, eventually humans won't be humans anymore. We'll be transhuman, right? Because of AI and all these other things, right? And if you keep going beyond that, there probably won't even be that anymore, right? So I think that the real enemy, I guess, if you will, of humanity is progress. And it's probably the same with any other advanced civilization in the universe. They just progress their way into oblivion.
So, I have at some point, we'll be doing an episode on the Fermi Paradox. There's a book. It's called The Universe is Teeming with Aliens, Where is Everybody? 75 Solutions to the Fermi Paradox and the Problem of Extraterrestrial Life by Stephen Webb. And it is an absolutely phenomenal book. It actually reads more like a textbook than anything. It's extremely dense. It took me about 6 months to get through. It's a very, very dense book. But there is some really, really cool answers to the Fermi Paradox. I thought the dark forest was an interesting one.
It is.
Because if you look at what humans do, right? If you look at the dark forest theory that Sixon Yu applies to his book series, he points out that humans are one of the only hunters in the dark forest that lights a fire. Where that's stupid. You know, we're sending signals out. We're having nuclear war. We're doing all this stupid shit. You know, we're sending radio signals and everything, just willy-nilly, just, you know, not really caring about what we're doing and not trying to hide that we are here. And yet we have the UFOs. See, we're coming full circle. We have these UFOs in our skies. Something potentially could have spotted us could be observing us, could be watching us, could be monitoring us, observing, could be from afar, could be from a distance in time, not just space, right? So I think that the dark forest theory that Six and You, an author, a fiction author, who actually is a very brilliant guy. If you ever get a chance, I highly recommend reading his books. They're absolutely amazing. Very, very thick books. They're like 400 pages a piece, 400, 500 pages a piece. Very, very good. I just find the parallels are just mind blowing. You know, it's very interesting what we do. And then we look up in the skies and we get these reports of UFOs. And then the first thing that we do is we say, these must be extraterrestrial. They must be from Zeta Reticuli. They must be from another star system. They must be from outer space.
How does that explain like ancient peoples having these experiences as well? Because as far as we're told, I don't know if I believe it, but as far as I'm told, you know, our ancestors, they weren't beaming signals out into space, right? They weren't radioing out looking for others.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of. But they very well could have.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode right there. Just the hidden history of it all and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, it's interesting, man. But you know, maybe it's just because I don't like things that are like scarcity related, you know, and that is what that is, right? So I don't like that. It just kind of it bothers me, right?
It should bother you.
It does bother me. I'd much rather like to think that it's not the case, you know. Even things like simulation theory. I know the Moore said something about it being like a form of psychosis, and I understand that, but it's somewhat more comforting than thinking that like we're just sitting ducks waiting for a predator to come get us. Right.
I mean, shoe fits, man.
Could be.
You know, it's there's potential there. You know, the scary thing is that there is definitely potential there for that to be the case. You know, and even I hate to say it, but even if we are in a simulation, the potential for something like that is still there.
Could be.
I mean, if we're in a simulation, then the potential for literally anything exists.
For sure. That's the point of simulations, right? To
Right.
throw in random variables to see how the simulation reacts.
Yes.
So,
and if we start getting into the conversation of what is the creator of the simulation, then I think we get back into the AI conversation. And I don't think, shit, man, you start talking about what does base reality look like. I don't think we can even fathom what base reality looks like.
no, and you know what's interesting too is make me think of, you ever watch Love, Death, and Robots?
Yep. I love that show.
You see
I love half of that show.
Yeah,
most of those episodes are stupid.
Some of them suck, but some of them are super interesting. You see the one where the guy, his ship gets fucking stranded in that space station hundreds of light years away from where he's supposed to be. You seen that one? And he like runs into like the blonde chick that he knew, and like they're banging, you know, she's like naked half the time. Seen that episode? It's in the new season. Anyways, him and his crew, they go into cryo sleep or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they wake up and the alarms are going off. They're like, what the fuck happened, right? And then the lady steps out and she's like, oh, you know, we found your ship stranded. You're 1,000 light years away from your fucking course. And they're like, oh, right. And then he's banging this lady, right? Because they knew each other from the past. And then and all this. And then he starts to realize like something's not right. And then he asks her to like tell him the truth. And she's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, tell me the truth." And what happens is he wakes up from cryo freeze and he realizes that he's stuck in like, I don't even know what you want to call it, like a fucking giant space spider web thing, right? And it's like, you know, it's just like this creature that's like controlling his mind while he's in cryo, right? You know, but when he's in cryo, he's comfortable, you know what I mean? And it's like, I wonder if that's kind of something that's happening too sometimes, right? If there is a breakaway civilization, if there are humans out there exploring the galaxy, even if we are moving at the speed of light out there, you know, maybe we are plugged in to a simulation in our cryopods right now, just experiencing life on the mythical planet we called Earth. Our ancestors came from this planet we called Earth, and we have this simulation of Earth that we all just exist in for 10,000 years, and we're constantly reincarnated inside this simulation until we get to our destination, or perhaps the destination is Earth.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a pretty good simulation.
There was something else too. You ever heard or read the book Who Built the Moon?
No, but I think I have it in my Amazon wish list.
The idea is that, I mean, and there are ancient stories of a time before the moon existed, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is that something at some point in the past built the moon. It's an artificial object, and it placed it into this perfect orbit around the Earth, right? And if you look at the orbits of all the other moons around all the other bodies that we know of, our moon operates differently than all of them, okay? And there's a whole list of reasons why it's different. But, you know, did they put the moon here to terraform the Earth to make it habitable? Because that's one of the ways that you could terraform a planet. Put a moon around it, put it in the perfect orbit, wait 20 million years or whatever, however long it takes, you know, the tides and all the things that happen, you could terraform a planet that way. Are we on the mothership moon plugged into a simulation preparing us to be dropped off on the Earth? And we're running through this simulation over and over and over again. We nuke ourselves away. We AI ourselves away. We virus manipulation ourselves away. Whatever the case is, we just keep doing this until the simulation decides, you guys figured it out as a collective. Now it's okay to go inhabit this planet that we've been terraforming for X eons. Those are just some fun theories that I think about sometimes. And it could all be controlled by AI. And it would be. Because no human being is going to stand around on that ship for 20 million years waiting for this to happen, right? They're going to put us all in cryo, and the AI systems are just going to run the simulations back.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We never will until we wake up one day in the ship and we're like, we pulled the... You know?
All right, man. What do you think?
I think it's my bedtime.
Yeah, I think it's your bedtime, too. All right. I ordered that book.
Of course you did. I'd be surprised if you didn't order a book.
Just ordered.
Which one? Who Built the Moon?
Who Built the Moon by Christopher Knight.
There you go. Also, watch that video I sent in that little group chat we have. The Thunderbolts Project. Symbols of an alien sky. Watch that. Anybody listening? Super interesting stuff. Might be bullshit. I don't know. Thunderbolts Project. Symbols of an alien sky. It'll blow your fucking mind.
The Moore says Jeremy's like Cypher. I don't know what Cypher is. Just wants a steak. What does that mean? Tell me what that means, Jeff.
What?
What's Cypher?
From The Matrix.
Yeah.
You never seen The Matrix?
We went over this already.
Come on, dude. Can we have a watch party? Can we just like do a thing where like I make you sit down and watch some of these movies one day?
Yeah,
like
we'll do
Terminator, The Matrix, Star Wars.
We'll do it on the Patreon.
Please. How do we do that without getting copyright? We got to look into that.
Patreon. Ain't nobody's gonna check the Patreon. We'll do it on the lowest tier. Charge people $1.
Yeah, the algorithms are still gonna hit us somehow.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
Well, there's some really good stuff in there, even though it's like fiction movies and science fiction. Like there's just like little nuggets in those films that are like, you know, we talk about them like every episode. That's why we're always bringing up these references. And it's like, man, you got
Yeah, but I can guarantee you people only listen to the show to talk shit about me not watching movies.
I don't read books. I bought a book that I haven't even touched.
Nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody cares.
You're right.
90% of the population of this planet doesn't read.
Yeah, you're right. I can read.
Right?
Let that be known.
So, but like, it's the other way around. It's like 99% of the population, 99.9% of the population watches movies. I did just finish Fall of the House of Usher because I thought it was going to be like the Edgar Allan Poe book, but it's not. But it was good.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
That's another good example of the enemy of progression. Because of the progress, nobody reads anymore. We just watch the films.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, we won't even be watching man-made films. We'll be watching fucking AI films.
I do have the book for The Matrix, but I haven't read it yet. I am currently, what am I reading? What is the fiction book I'm reading? I can't remember what it's called. It has to do with, what are those mushrooms that take over the bodies of bugs? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm on the second book. The first book was a kind of like a parody of the Fall of the House of Usher, and that's why I wanted to watch this show. And the second book is just a sequel, but yeah.
Here's a good little nugget from The Matrix. The movie came out in 1999.
Wow. Yeah.
Neo, Keanu Reeves, there's a scene in the movie where they show his driver's license, his ID. His birthday was 9/11, 2001.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool.
And the whole idea of the movie is that he's learning the truths and waking up and unplugging from the Matrix. And it's just interesting because for most people, conspiracy-minded people who break out of the Matrix, if you will, 9/11 is usually like the first thing or one of the first things that wake you up, right? You become reborn through that in a way. And it's interesting. And that's just like one little piece I'll give you, because it's like stuff like that all through, not just the Matrix, but like I said, Terminator, even in Star Wars, right? Like Order 66, like there's just so much in these films and probably in the books too. I don't know, but it's definitely some shit you got to watch sometime.
This is the series I'm reading right now. I'm on this one with Feast at Night. And then
Are
I'll
there
read
pictures.
No. But this is like a parody of
his passport, excuse me, not his ID, his passport. Thank you. The more, he corrected me. It wasn't his driver's license. It was his passport that showed 9/11/2001.
Yes. But yeah. So then after I'm done reading these, I'm going to read The Light Runner from Allie Walker. And then I may read the book that's supposedly The Matrix. What's it called again?
Book? I don't fucking know.
What's the Matrix book? Skeeter, what's the Matrix book? I have it.
I don't fucking know. And you know, the new Matrix that came out, everybody hated it, including me. Just it didn't hit the vibe, right? But it was interesting because, spoiler alert, Keanu Reeves, the entire time, he's just a video game coder. It's a fucking video game. And he's like the architect. He's the coder for the game, for the simulation. It's interesting, man. It's all interesting shit. I don't know. The Moore says, I think it's called The Matrix.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's fucking hilarious, dude. Got his ass.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's past my fucking bedtime. Wrap this thing up, bud.
Yeah. It's past your bedtime. All right, well, saw a lot of new names in the roster today. Checking out the show. So just want to say thank you to anybody who checked us out. Don't forget to hit follow. We record every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Time, whatever that correlates to your local time zone. I'm Jeremy, the host of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. This is Jeff, co-host, Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast, and host of the Shadow Band podcast. It's been a pleasure. We're going to try to get some guests going, but until we do, we do have something big coming up very soon. Hopefully very soon. Jeff and I we've been working behind the scenes, getting something going. We cannot talk about it right now, but we will break that news when it happens. But this may even make the more happy.
It's big.
It's big.
It's big. So
it's big. And even Jeff says it's big.
It's big.
So hang tight. It might be a while, guys. It might be a month or two, but it's worth the wait. I can guarantee you. So just hang tight. And when it comes, you'll know. That's all I can really say. And if you don't, we'll tell you that this is it. I guess, maybe. But yeah, so that's it. I can announce the Patreon. Patreon topic for the month of July is Momo, the Missouri Monster. Yeah. So that will be dropping the second week of July. Get ready. Y'all are about to get attacked by Momo. All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.
Adios.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.